Revolutionary greetings, comrades. We recorded a video titled Sex Workers. Sex is a human need. It has generated a lot of or different views, different opinions. I would not want to say it generated a lot of interest. But in some social media platforms where it was discussed, there is one comrade in one chat group. He was saying we are contradicting Marxism as a theory on the question of what he prefers to continue calling prostitutes. And he says we must condemn those that are in this practice because to him it's a liberal concept. And it arises from how we defined it that prostitution is a product of capitalism. And now that we are supporting them as sex workers, he says we should condemn them as opposed to supporting them. And then he thinks that we are contradicting Marxism by us supporting sex workers. It's in we're discussing with comrades in one WhatsApp group. It's Bulawa, you can't remember the name, yeah, but it's one of the groups that I am in. But what the comrade forgot is that the proletariat is a product of capitalism. If we were to follow his line of thinking, that because prostitution is a product of capitalism, therefore we as communists must condemn it, as opposed in mobilizing them into a union. It therefore follows, if we follow his argument, that because workers were created by the capitalist economy, we must condemn them. So I think it is the comrade that he does not have a better understanding of the theory or the philosophy because it does not follow that any product of capitalism must be condemned, because we have to analyze. We are talking of human beings that because of the economic condition that they find themselves in, they then sell sex. It becomes a commodity. And we said in the first video that we recorded that any commodity must have a price or a market value, because you are now getting into the market. It must have a market value. And we said its price is based on demand. So it's created, is a product of a capitalist system that we must dismantle. So we cannot dismantle a product and leave what breeds the product, right? So the first task of communists and the workers is to destroy capitalism, which produced prostitution. That's what must be done. So you cannot say, as the comrades were arguing in that Bulawa or Matebele chat group, I think that's the name. You cannot then say, because this is a product of capitalism, seek class alliance with capitalists in building the economy. Pick one product which you think is not good for society, depending on where you stand. Therefore, condemn it and ban it. Our argument is that you need first and foremost to dismantle the apartheid system, the capitalist system. Once you dismantle the capitalist system, you will not have this product which is now gave rise because of the economic condition. So that's the point the first point that you want to make. We know, of course, that in Africa in general, and amongst the black people in particular, prostitution is a long tradition practiced, but no one wants to associate with it. And we did make an observation that it dehumanizes the seller and the buyer, right? And we said in the men, there are men that condemn it during the day and they go by in the evening. I'm recording this video in the evening. When night falls, they're going by. During the day, they will stand up against it and make themselves holier than thou. But in the evening, they buy it. So it is in demand. Any commodity that is in demand, you will not eradicate it. Because you can only destroy the market if you don't have to destroy the market if it is not in need. If it is not needed. No one is buying. You will not have anyone sitting around the streets. You will not even have us talking about building a hotel to ensure that people are protected. The workers, sex workers are protected. So I thought it's important that I first make this point following the discussion that was happening in that group. So you destroy capitalism first. You don't destroy the product. It's like you are cutting the branch of a tree. You are not uprooting the roots, right? That's what the comrade was suggesting. But of course, when you're a leader, comrades then when they discuss, it becomes they want to personalize the discussion. But of course, we are leaders. We listen and read, and so that we don't get offended. But then there are those comrades that would want to personalize a discussion. Let's then get to the second point. Comrade Lord Dumo Spanda. Initially in the first video, I didn't want to name her. She has responded with 10 comments or questions. I'm not sure if we'll be able to deal with all of these questions that she has raised in this video. If we will not, we will record another video to complete her points and the questions that she raises, because we think it is important. It encourages debate. So she started by saying, Aufan, at least you spoke about it better than silence. She was writing to me in a public platform. So this is why I'm naming her, because she wrote in a public platform on Facebook. She did not write privately. If she wrote privately, I was not going to mention by name. But because I post my videos on my Facebook page and the comrades comment, and so her post is public, you can go and read it. It is on my wall. But had she written to me in private, I would not have mentioned her by name. So I want to make this point so that comrades will then say, Comrade Mabena, when we discuss with you issues, you then go to your YouTube channel and name us. No. That we don't do that. You normally hear me say, I cannot name this comrade because we have discussed it in private, but this is in public platform. So let me read what she then wrote. She says, Comrade Ngabuto Nicholas Mabena, Awufane, at least you spoke about it. Better than silence. However, there's a lot that was missed in your video, especially considering it was an hour long. I had to correct her that the first video was 30 minutes, 39 seconds. It was not an hour long. But the first point that she raises or question says, sex work has diversified from sex on the streets to online. Then she writes in quotes, might mark OnlyFans. I didn't hear mention of that. Comrade Lord Dumo, there was no reason for us to mention that because what we were saying was that we need to protect sex workers. If it is now online, is diversified, is now online, you did not hear that. What we should therefore be discussing is the impact if it's online. How does it affect the seller and the buyer if it is online? So we recorded the first video on the basis that sex workers are abused in the streets and everywhere in some areas, and hence we call on building accommodation for them so that they are protected. So we will want Comrade Lord Dumosbanda to then explain how this affect the seller and the buyer if sex work has diversified from sex on the streets to online. Then the second point, which I think is linked to the first one, says hooks up via social media platforms, cell phones, etc. Again, I think it's the same with the first point, to say it is not clear to us how this then affect the seller and the buyer, or what are the challenges, because we have spoken about the challenges of sex work in the streets, and hence we are making the proposal. It's not us, and it's not us only, but other comrades and NGOs and others have made proposals to protect the sex workers. So you need in your first two points, Comrade Lord Dumosbanda, to indicate. And then in number 3, she says issues such as sex workers being raided by police and their ARVs and condoms being destroyed, then them having to go for weeks or months without their treatment because they are not due for collection at the local clinics and or on healthcare centers. This is why, Comrade Lord Dumosbanda, we said in the first video, decriminalize sex work. So if you decriminalize sex work, you will not have the police raiding sex workers. They are raiding sex workers on the basis and the understanding that it is an illegal trade. So if you decriminalize, pass legislation to decriminalize sex work, you will not have these challenges where then those that take their ARVs or have their condoms being destroyed then have challenges to go into the nearest clinic to collect those. And then number 4, not talk about organizations that are currently available to support sex workers. We did not do a research indeed on organizations that support sex workers, but I know that there are quite a number, though I cannot from the top of my head name. I know that for instance in Harare there are organizations, and I think in Bulawayo that provide platforms, women's organizations that do have sessions with sex workers talking to them about their condition, treatment, safety, and so on and so on. They are NGOs. I might not have checked on internet the names of these organizations, but indeed they are there. Then in number 5, she says, child sex, including child marriage, that's transactions going on because some old men wants to satisfy their sexual ego with a child. That's a different thing, because child sex, a child does not qualify under the category of a worker. This is why we condemn child labor in the main, be it in the sex industry, be it in the normal industry or a productive economy, so to speak. We condemn child labor, and we condemn, which we have also done, condemn child marriages, which also we have seen in some religious organizations in Manicaland in the main, where ZANU-PF big wigs will be going there. I think I wrote on Facebook, or wrote a statement, I can't remember, but we wrote condemning the death of a 15-year-old who died giving birth. Belongs to this religious organization in Manicaland. So child labor, child sex, and so forth, we condemn that. And we've always condemned it. And this is why I wrote on Facebook that one of the reasons why I hate ZANU-PF is because of its support of these churches that practice child marriage, force children into marriage. We have been speaking about this. So we cannot classify them as workers. So the video was about sex workers. Then 6, your stance as an organization to the abuses against sex workers. That's the reason why we did the video, and we clarified. We gave a Marxist perspective, and why we now call them sex workers. We started by quoting Karl Marx, his attitude and his analysis, and said they are lumpen proletariat. They will not be part of the revolution. And I used the word that we are evolving. We need to protect sex workers. Hence, we now call them sex workers as opposed to call them prostitutes. If you listen carefully to the first video, that's what we said. This, by the way, Comrade Lodumo Spanda, this is what comrades in the Bulawayo Matabeleland chat group, WhatsApp chat group, were then condemning, because we had said in the video that we need to protect, which is the organizational position which we're mentioning. And then you got on number 7, says violence against sex workers and how they should deal with it, whom they should report it to or escalate should they get unsuspectory services. I said in the video that COSATU also works with these vulnerable workers, sex workers. And I did mention in the video that we were having a discussion on how they should be organized, the sex workers. So there are organizations that are dealing with that. So I might not necessarily, because I was not focusing on specific country, which I think what you want me or want us to do, Comrade Lodumo Spanda, is to say, if you're a sex worker in Bulawayo, this is the person that you should contact. If you're in Johannesburg Central, these are the people that you should contact. If you're in Durban, Cape Town, and so forth. I'm not sure whether this is what you want us to do, but the information might be available on internet. And then you say number 9, which is a repetition of what you have been raising above. no mention of NGOs and support groups. Again, like I'm saying, they are their NGOs, though I might not name them, but a simple search on internet and other women's groups, this is what they do. I do not want to name people that I know in Zim that have been giving support to the sex workers. I know there have been meetings in Harare, there have been meetings in Bulawayo, and also these meetings also then bring members of I would say gay members of society into those meetings. Number 10, you then say immediate solutions or tools to deal with safety, e.g., informing their friends about where they are going with whom etc., in case they don't come back. This is what Comrade Lord Dumosbanda, we were saying that if government invests in a hotel, refurbish a building, and you then treat it like a hotel. I even used an example in Europe, which I said I think is in Netherlands, which a pastor told me about. If a client comes, a client downstairs at the reception, they get to register. They want the services, it to be known that in room 5 there is a client, right? The worker is with the client, they've taken 30 minutes, whatever time that is agreed upon. And when the client does not want to pay, the system in the building will deal with the client. I even said that one of the challenges that is there out there is that a sex worker is picked up in the streets. I use the end street. You can also drive in the evening towards Rosebank. If you are from town, city center, Johannesburg to Rosebank, you will see people flagging down motorists. If then a sex worker is picked up, they drive in some area, her friends or his friends, they will not be there. Remember, we spoke about both male and female, but we said male normally have proper accommodation because it is your bourgeoisie women that then buy sex from these men, pay these men who are sex workers for sex. So they pick up these young girls in the streets who are sex workers, then they dump them as somewhere where their friends are not seen. So this is what these NGOs and the support groups do. We then continue on 10. You had said immediate solutions or tools to deal with safety, e.g., informing their friends about where they are going with whom, etc., in case they don't come back. Last but not least, this capitalism did 1, 2, 3 mantra sometimes need to be left aside and deal with issues at the hand. Comrade, let me finish of verse maybe reading. I know it's the core business of your organization, but in some instances, leave capitalism out of it. By the way, sex work does not always involve heterosexuality, it also involves homosexuality, e.g., women requiring sex services from women or men requiring sex services from men. I believe there is more that could have been spoken about. But again, mhlawumbe, I put you on the spot and didn't give you enough time to research. Comrade Lodum Sband, we are engaged in a class struggle. That if you open the Communist Manifesto, which is our guide, defines our struggle. We are engaged in a class struggle. And the class struggles, and these classes have been evolving. You remember we talk about primitive communism, we talk of slavery, we talk of feudal society, now capitalism. So there have always been classes, and ours is a class struggle. So we cannot leave capitalism out because it is capitalism that produced what we now call sex workers. It is capitalism that created the proletariat to start with. So there's no way that we cannot talk about it. So it was not necessary, Comrade no Lodumo to speak to the issues that you are raising, that women require sex from other women, men. I think you are now confusing these issues. But what we should agree on is that there are sex workers out there, whether it is a female sex worker servicing or the client becoming a female. But you have a sex worker who's female and a client who's female. A sex worker who's male, which we did speak to, and a client who's male. So, but at the end, it's sex workers. So this is the point that we're making. So, comrades, please write your comments. We will try to do the third video to wrap up this discussion. Otherwise, please share your comments, like this video, please circulate, and please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Otherwise, Amandla, comrades.